Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We will try to answer as many questions as we possibly can about our upcoming Camporee to Gillette, Wyoming. We've said Oshkosh for 20 years, and so that's going to be really hard to drop from our vocabulary. So if we accidentally mention Oshkosh, please forgive us. I'd like to just start with a word of prayer, ask the Lord to bless us. Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessing and we invite you to be with us this afternoon as we talk about our upcoming Camporee in Gillette, Wyoming. We want to ask you to bless our clubs. We know that this is a very challenging time for Pathfinder clubs, for our Pathfinder directors and staff. And we know we've got a big event coming up. We've got things that are way beyond our control. And so we're just going to trust you to help us be able to attend this Camporee. And as we begin preparing for it today, we ask for your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, welcome those of you who have joined us. I'm going to take just a minute and get my screen up here. I have just a short presentation that I would like to share with you to give you an idea of what to expect when you get to Gillette, Wyoming. Last August, I had the opportunity to attend a walkthrough at the Gillette facility, the Camplex facility. Jim Oliver, our Camp Cedar Falls manager, joined me on the trip, and we flew from Ontario to Denver. We flew to Denver, and then we drove up. Gillette is about 5 hours straight north of Denver. So it took us, six and a half hours, something like that, to drive the distance, but it was doable. And for some of you, that may be an option. Steve will be joining us in a few minutes, and he and Juan Gomez did a road trip from Los Angeles. So he'll tell you about that and some options that are other options that are available. This is the city of Gillette, Wyoming. Energy is a major industry in Gillette. Years ago, it used to be more oil related. Now it is coal is the big industry in Gillette. This is the Camplex facility that we will be using. And it is a fairly modern facility with some very good amenities. And we'll be showing you this. Now, the thing that you want to know about Gillette is it is completely flat. There's no hills, no mountains or anything around. It is flat. It is on the prairie, which means the winds can whip up. I was there in the latter part of August, which would be a few weeks later than we would be there camping. It was shirt sleeve weather during the day. It could get a little chilly at night and down into the 50s, but doable. Here's an aerial view of the facility. You see the green area surrounding the buildings. That is the camping area. The facilities in the center are the exhibit halls, and the exhibit halls are where a majority of the daytime activities will be taking place. Here is a map of the facility. You'll notice in the top left-hand corner, nighttime assembly. This is the proposed area for the evening program. Now, the big challenge that presents is you see this road here along A through C. The entire camp has to cross a major roadway to get to the nighttime activity site. So that is going to present a challenge. They may have to work with the city and the county to actually close that road during the evening program, but that's for them to work out. The county and the city have bent over backwards. They really want this event to happen. So much so that they have their annual Campbell County Fair, the county fair that usually takes place the week that the Camporee is scheduled. They have moved that to accommodate us. So that's how serious they are about wanting us to be able to come and have our Camporee at their facility. Here are some of the buildings that you will see. Pastor Ron Whitehead, who is the Camporee director, was briefing us. And these are the offices of the Camplex. You see, these are very modern, very nice buildings. This is the Wyoming Center, where they have a number of the exhibit halls. For those of you that went to Oshkosh, you remember the hangars where we had the various exhibits. These take the place of the hangars, the airplane hangars. A couple of differences. Number one, they are centrally located. So there's nobody that's going to be, most of the camping area is going to be surrounding the exhibit halls. So nobody's going to have a long way to go travel like we did at Oshkosh. The other thing, if you remember the exhibit halls, when those got filled up during the day, they were quite warm. There was a lot of heat and humidity from the number of bodies packed in the exhibit halls. These exhibit halls are air conditioned, so you will find that refreshing. Okay, here's a look at one of the exhibit halls. There's a number of different ones, and they'll have honor classes in here. They'll have exhibits. They'll have the Pathfinder Museum. They'll have the Advent Source, all kinds of things like that. So here you can get an idea of the different exhibit halls. These are air conditioned, very large. And there are restrooms with flush toilets inside the exhibit halls. They have different styles, but very large facilities. This is one. Now, you remember in Oshkosh, we were on the grounds of the Experimental Aircraft Association. So airplanes and flight were a major thing. In Wisconsin, the big thing, especially in Gillette, is rodeos. So we're hearing that they're going to have a daily rodeo that we can attend. And here is one of the exhibit halls that have the pressed dirt. Here's a look at some of the possible camping facilities. There are a lot of electrical boxes. Not all of the campsites have the electrical boxes, but many of them do. Water spigots as well. Again, not all of them, but many of them do. Here's an idea of the roads that go through the camp. So mostly flat and a lot of grass. And there were wildlife there that day. Whether they would be there with 50,000 Pathfinders, probably not, but we were surprised that we were able to get so close to the wildlife. Here is from looking at the property. There are some shelters that they use when they have wildlife there, horses. They're not quite sure how they're going to utilize these pavilions during the Camporee, not quite yet. This is the area where they are planning the evening programs. The evening programs for the benefit of those who have not attended a division Camporee, those are the main focus of the Camporee. They usually have a musical presentation each evening based on the theme. This next Camporee, Believe the Promise, is based on the story of Moses. So that will take place here. Again, we have to cross a major roadway, but they are working with the city and county to be able to shut that down. There are also a number of off-site activities that will be planned. They will make use of shuttle buses, and this is a recreation center that is jointly owned between the city and the school district, and they are making this available to the Pathfinders. It's included in the Camporee price, which this Camporee will be $205 per person. Tickets are already on sale. They have a certain amount that they're making available, and when those sell out, that's all they're going to sell. But usually there are always tickets available from people who are selling tickets. So here's a look around of this facility that making available. They have an indoor track, indoor tennis courts. Very, very nice facility. And again, this is available to the Pathfinders. They have climbing wall, basketball courts, indoor swimming pool. They have an indoor water park for the younger kids. And these are all available to us with the price of admission. This is the Pronghorn Center at the college, which is also made available to us. Some of the classrooms will be used for honor classes. And then the gym, the basketball court will be available for I think it was the 3-on-3 tournament that they had. So they're making that available. They also have outdoor soccer fields that they're making available to us. Then they have some football fields. We caught them in a practice, and a softball field that are owned by the city. And these, again, will be made available to us. Not everybody's going to be interested in that, but they are. It was nice that the city is doing everything they can to accommodate a group our size. This is downtown Gillette. They have a couple main streets that go through town. Very small downtown. It's kind of reminds me of Mayberry, but it was very nice, clean city. They have a very good ice cream cafe in town. Now, one of the challenges is going to be buying food for our groups with 50,000 people there. These are the markets that they have in town. Here's the Smith's Food King. There is one Walmart in town. I've been told that the manager of the Walmart in Gillette has already contacted the manager of the Walmart in Oshkosh to find out what kinds of items that he needs to stock up for that week, what kinds of items we will be selling. There's an Albertsons as well. And there's a couple local markets. Here's one of them, Don's Supermarket. Now, why am I telling you this? The reason being the big difference between Oshkosh and Gillette. In Oshkosh, you had the city of Oshkosh itself, and you had several surrounding communities. You had Fond du Lac to the south. To the north, you had Neenah, you had Appleton, even as far away as Green Bay. Okay. Now, at the last Camporee, I found the Oshkosh Walmart just to be overwhelmed. It was very, very crowded. So I did my shopping in the nearby town of Neenah, which is about 20, 25 minutes away. The challenge that Gillette presents us, it's a city and similar in size to that of Oshkosh. The only problem is that's all there is for about 100 miles in any direction. So you don't have the surrounding overflow towns like you did in Oshkosh. So that's going to limit the biggest challenge is the being able, with 50,000 people being able to shop. Now there will be, as I understand, some on-site options. In previous Camporees, you've always been able to order a good portion of your food ahead of time, the veggie food and a number of things from Kellogg's. We were able to order ahead. Pastor Ron suggested that they may very well be able to make arrangements with local farmers who can bring in their produce and sell it on site. So there'll be like a daily farmers market where you can purchase fresh fruits and vegetables, or maybe more other co-ops and things like that that are available, but that's in the works. But I just want to warn you, that's the biggest challenge. So a lot of non-perishable stuff like cereals and pasta and stuff like that, you may want to pack up and bring with you ahead of time. They do have a very nice hospital in Gillette. They even have an Adventist church there in town. And here is the Northwest Wyoming Regional Airport. You can fly into Gillette. I believe it is United Airlines that flies in there. They will have a limited number of flights that come in, but that is an option. There are some other airports such as Casper, Wyoming, and South Dakota, and places like that that you can fly in. Like I said, I flew into Denver. It's about 5 hours away, but they do have a nice airport there. It's comparable, for those of you that were Oshkosh, it's comparable to Appleton, the size of the airport in Appleton. And there are 2 laundromats that I was able to find. Okay, that becomes very important, especially later in the week. And I want to show you this final slide. I attended the Camporee board a couple months ago, and this place in the top left-hand corner here, this is the proposed site for the Pacific Union. Okay, this is, nothing's final because it's going to depend how many people actually register and things like that. But what I want to point out, notice the closeness we are to the nighttime assembly area. And we're not all that far from a number of the buildings where we have our daily activities. So if that indeed becomes our campsite, that will be a very nice place to camp indeed. Okay. That's all I had. I wanted to, Steve, you want to take it from here? You want to take questions at this point?
Let me take it from here, and let's look at it from another perspective. So I want to share some awesome trip suggestions for going to Gillette. Think of it this way. We're about 20 hours away from Gillette, Wyoming. If you drive straight through for 10 hours a day, 2 days. But let's face it, there are so many things between here and there. You can see a map that I've prepared, starting in the bottom lower left corner, heading up through Zion National Park, which is about 7 hours away. Grand Canyon, north rim of the Grand Canyon, is about 3 hours away from Zion National Park. Bryce Canyon National Park is about 3 hours or so away from the Grand Canyon, a couple hours away from Zion, and then heading straight up through Salt Lake City and into Yellowstone National Park is a great trip. I call this my dream trip because this is a great way to share a way to enjoy our outdoors, our nature. And if you take a week to go there, you can see a lot. So let me share some specifics here. This is Zion National Park. It's a great park to spend a day in. I'm thinking, why not drive up to Zion National Park, start enjoying it that afternoon. Like, let's say you started on Sunday. Enjoy it Sunday afternoon and Monday morning. There's a tram you can take to go see parts of it. There's hikes you can take. There's a road that traverses straight on through the park. You can see it winding the road, winding through. I'm showing it from a different angle here. And you see some amazing views here. And what you see on the side of the mountain here is a tunnel with skylights coming through. A fairly long tunnel. Buses and campers can go through it, but buses and campers will need a reservation because you cannot put two side by side. In fact, the cars coming the other direction will have a hard time going back and forth. So they do one-way trips at different times of the day, each direction for buses and RVs. This is looking out one of those views that I was showing the reverse side earlier, and this is coming out the other side. Juan Gomez and I drove through one afternoon and continued. We did not stop and spend the night there, and then continued on up to another park. But let's say you camped right about where it says 3 hours and 39 minutes, or maybe back a little closer to the town called Springdale. There's a number of camps in there. Actually, there's camps on both sides. There's camps near the entrance, which is closer to where it shows St. George. And there's camps in the Springdale area. I'd stay there overnight and then drive down to the north rim of the visitor center and do that late in the afternoon, let's say Monday afternoon. Camp there overnight and enjoy the north rim of the visitor center. There's a story about this donkey that is fun to read. There are trails around. And I just remembered the name of the donkey, Bright Angel. There's several trails, Transrep Trail, one Lynette and I walked on when we were there this summer. Gorgeous views of the north rim of the Grand Canyon. By the way, you notice that there's green forest around right close to where we're at. The north rim of the Grand Canyon is 1,000 feet higher than what you see across the way, which is the south rim. That means the air temperature is a little cooler. Oh yes, it can still get plenty hot there on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. But the views are totally different than the south rim. Just some more pictures of on the trails. You can go on a mule ride, either along the top out to a viewpoint or down into the Grand Canyon. There are 3-hour rides. They'll cost a pretty penny, like about $100 a person. But if you start saving quickly and start saving now, and I'll share a budget with you soon, there are ways to save for some special things like this. So from the north rim of the visitor center on up to Bryce Canyon National Park. Okay, I stand corrected. It's 6.5, 7 hours up to Bryce Canyon. So if you did the north rim of the Grand Canyon on Tuesday morning, now that remember we said come into Zion, say Sunday night, spend the day, Monday afternoon, head down to the north rim. Tuesday evening, drive up to Bryce Canyon National Park and enjoy that area. Again, each of these national parks have so many neat things to see. You can spend a lot of time there, but if you time it right, spend a day or a half a day in some of these parks like Bryce, North Rim, Zion. There are so many things the kids will enjoy. This is out at the end of Bryce Canyon, looking over the ranges. There's a natural bridge there. Yes, plenty of crows around. This is a view where most people come. And if you look straight ahead, you can see a ridge starting about in the center and heading to the left. And let's call it the rim. There's a trail that goes along that rim. And if you start at the point we're viewing here, which I believe is Bryce's Point, it's downhill all the way to that area in the center of the screen and we'll show that in a little bit. I dare say that might take the kids an hour or two. Great way for the kids to enjoy the outdoors. All right, going from Bryce Canyon on up, you will be taking, it says 31 hours. I'm not going to say it shouldn't take quite that long. It took us about 3 or 4 hours to get to Salt Lake City. And I'm going to say probably another, it's a day's trip up. Oh, I stand corrected. That 31 hours is the whole trip. So it's about a day trip up to Yellowstone and en route, the Grand Teton National Park. Grand Teton has some lakes. You can stop by and visit if you want to. To me, it was more the view than anything else. Yellowstone National Park, trust me, you will want to spend 2 or 3 days here. There is so much to see. And you can see on the map I've outlined the entrance down in the south, which you will most likely come in to, following it, the route heading north and then around to the left, about where the 191, first 191 sign is Old Faithful Geyser. You have paint pots, geyser basin, the north entrance, Artist Point. And let me share a few of these. This is Old Faithful. And by the way, this young man was with us when we took our Pathfinders through this area back in 1999. He's now the pastor at the Culver City SDA Church. Love Old Faithful. You can spend hours there. There are many geysers near this. I would spend the better part of a day at Old Faithful. These are just some of them. Heading on from Old Faithful up toward the paint pots and the geyser basin. these are some of the sites that you'll see there. Beautiful colored waters. From the Norris Geyser Basin, heading on north to the north entrance, this was dedicated by, my mind slips my mind, one of the presidents back in 1872, or chartered.
Teddy Roosevelt?
Say again, Kevin?
Was that Teddy Roosevelt?
Could have been. You pass the 45th parallel, which means you're halfway between the equator and the North Pole. And this is in the north, near the North Gate. And this looks like ice, doesn't it? It's actually limestone. So in the summertime, no, it's not freezing cold. It gets cold at night. All right, heading from there around, back down, and over to what we call Artist Point. This is a gorgeous view from Artist Point of the waterfalls in the area. Nature galore. And a lot of the animals are walking on the roads. The bison particularly will stop traffic left and right and say hello to one of the big men. One of the times we were there, we saw a grizzly bear. That's not too often. But from there, heading out to Gillette is probably another day's drive. So that's one trip that you can take. Let me share with what I call Plan B, another route you can go. And you'll notice that this heads, I've shared going through Zion National Park, the North Rim, Bryce, but now I've added Arches National Park, Camporee National Park, Colorado National Monument, Independence Rock, a few other things. So let's see what those are. So tagging on to what we've seen already, Arches National Park that Juan and I stopped at. Amazing arches, amazing pillars. Kids will love this. This is an area you can probably spend a couple hours hiking in, maybe even a little longer. If you look real closely, one's down there in the center near the bottom. That's how large these arches are. Here's another set of arches that are neighbors to the double arch, the twin arch that I was just sharing with you. Colorado National Monument. Gorgeous views, amazing road trips. These are not trips you fly through. You want to take your time so the kids can see it. Black Canyon National Park. Again, amazing. And what I'm sharing here is you're starting to get close to the Continental Divide. You see all the red buttons. Most of those red buttons are passes that you can drive through. I dare say if you took the time to plan a trip through those passes, your kids will see some amazing areas of the Continental Divide, huge mountain passes, gorgeous views. Heading up through here, you will come to a place that is called Independence Rock. This is a small rock compared with the Rocky Mountains and the Continental Divide, but it was a stopping place for wagon caravans and it's called Independence Rock because most of them arrived on or around Independence Day, July 4. And they strived to be here by that time because of winter weather closing in on the Sierras and the mountains near Mount Rainier in Washington, Oregon Trail Mountains. But there's a history of it, but more so you can climb it. And what's fun is it's amazing to see the names of people who have inscribed their names way back years ago. I believe this is 1750, July 4, 1750, or 1850, one of the two. You'll see 1860 up in the top right. But amazing views. By the way, en route, we saw this nice little contraption. Anyone know what it is? You'll notice that it has some deep areas that if you're not careful, feet can slip through. Human feet, not likely, but it's called the cattle guard. Cattle feet will definitely slip through there, and it keeps them from going from one area to another. Oh yes, I happen to see a Pathfinder ranch en route, but this is coming into Gillette. Kevin, you said that Gillette area is flat. That's true. The surrounding areas are rolling hills and not big hills, but definitely there's some rolling hills. Here's looking at the Camplex Center coming in and viewing a couple of the areas. Kevin shared with you a good share of this already. I believe this is a slightly different view, and it shows the areas that have RV sites, which are, as Kevin said, a lot of them. Not all, but quite a few areas have that. Kevin shared this, and this is just a different view of it, but looking at it from, well, let's just say from the angle that you're seeing here. So let's talk about some planning points. So there are 4 airports that you can fly into. Kevin talked about Gillette in Denver, but Casper, Wyoming, 133 miles away. Rapid City, South Dakota, 150 miles away. By the way, Rapid City is fairly close to Gillette. I will not encourage you to head up to Mount Rushmore, which is nearby, because they're having the Sturgis motorcycle rally the same week we're there. You're welcome to go, but expect crowds. If there weren't going to be crowds there, I'd say by all means, tie that into to a place to go visit. Interestingly, Coach USA has a bus depot in Gillette. You notice there's a phone number here? Write it down. If you're at all interested in chartering a bus, either to pick you up from the airport or possibly even putting together a trip from Los Angeles up and back. Coach USA, they won't be the cheapest, but they are quality. We actually used Coach USA in that 1999 trip I alluded to in going through Yellowstone National Park. It's about 1,200 miles each way if you drive straight there, add some additional mileage for trips through the national parks. And do be aware that if you're planning to visit the national parks, reservations may be required. Cell service, interestingly, Juan and I tested 3 different cell services there. AT&T had the best service as compared to Verizon and T-Mobile. Remember, we were there in September. They are talking about possibly bringing in some extra cell towers, as they did at Oshkosh. RVs. As usual, RVs must fit within your designated area. There is an overflow camping area, and there are 2 RV dump sites. One right across from Camplex, one about 3 miles away, behind something called Area 59, which is a science center, and which may be available to our kids. There are RV rental sites that are on the Camporee website. Be aware they're national websites. Unless you want to rent a trailer only for cooking or on site, rent locally here and drive both directions. Food, Kevin talked about, I only put down 3 of them and how far away those 3 are. I forget how far Albertsons is away, probably closer to the 3-mile mark. Would you say so, Kevin? They are planning to
About
have
the same as Smith's.
Oh, same as Smith's. Okay. They are planning to have an on-site store for ice and a short list of food. I think we can call that the equivalent to the Red Barn that we had at Oshkosh. Kevin alluded to possibly having a farmer's market on site every morning. And the local ice cream store does plan to be on site. And Kevin, I think you swear that's some of the best ice cream you've ever tasted. So let's talk about a budget. So I've taken and made some assumptions. First of all, we have the Camporee fee, $225 a person. Transportation, I figured 5 individuals in a vehicle, and at that, using 17 miles a gallon, $4.50 a gallon, which in the last few days tells me that may be low based on what I'm paying today. I figured $160. Let's say it's even $200 per person.
That'll be accurate once you get out of California.
Yeah, okay. Yes, you're right. Well said. KOA campgrounds, great place to camp. They not only have RV sites, but they have camping areas. When we did our 1999 trip going and coming to Oshkosh, we stayed in KOAs all the way and really found it worthwhile. Food, based on what I've heard from most of you, $20 a day. And if we're talking about 2 weeks, plan on 14 days. Figure $100 for trading pins, $20 for National Park annual pass. And by the way, when I say $20, one person can get an adult can get a National Park annual pass for like 80 some odd dollars. Divide that by 5, it is actually less than $20 a person. And then if you add something for activities and emergencies, like remember I said, taking that mule ride was about $100. That would be part of this particular area. Great options. There's in Zion National Park, you can go on ultra-terrain vehicle tours. You can do horseback riding in the Teton National Forest, let alone the mule rides. Fundraising, car washes. Rather than charge, why don't you ask for a donation? We've usually found that when you get a donation, you get more. Bake sales. I love bake sales because everyone loves baked goods. We used to have Pathfinder, or we have Pathfinders on Wednesday nights, and prayer meeting was started about a half hour after we started. And guess what? Everybody coming through was buying some baked goods. Workathons. Workathons were probably the best fundraiser I've ever done. And it's doing work around the church, working in the neighborhood of the church, working at different homes for invalids. Mail letters out to friends and family of your Pathfinders and ask them to sponsor you for the day. It was not unusual for us to raise $1,000, $2,000 through a fundraiser like that. Banquets. We've done various kinds of banquets. You can tie music, you can bring music in, you can do plays, but make them fancy banquets. Have them have the kids dress up. We had one club who shared with me that they would purchase storage locker items from these storage warehouses. You know, if someone doesn't pay rent, the lock is cut and everything's put up for auction. You've got to know what you're doing when you buy and sell, but one club raised some very good money. And if you want to get some information, it was the Hawthorne Club. Candy. I don't usually recommend candy with one exception. See's candy during the holidays, Valentine's and Christmas. That's kind of a given. People will buy. Other than that, no. Or how about this for pulling your money together? If you start setting aside, if every parent started setting aside $10 a week for the next 2.5 years, they would raise that $1,200 plus some. Last but not least, definitely sign up for the Camporee newsletter so you're aware of news, ideas, and things. So make a note of that website, www.camporee.org. And with that, Kevin, I'm going to open things up so we can all start talking. And let's see, I've got a.
There was a question in the chat, which campsite our conference would have. We will not be camping, unlike last time, we will not be camping by conference, we will be camping by union. And so we will be together with the Pacific Union. The specific campsite, we don't know, but I showed you where the tentative area was across from the evening program.
Why don't you bring that slide back up if you can, Kevin?
All right, let me see if I can do that.
And by the way, I've unmuted you so you can start asking questions now. Sharing thoughts. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any suggestions to share with others? This is the time to do it. Oops, you got muted, Kevin.
The top left-hand corner directly across from the nighttime assembly, that is what Pacific Union is currently, that's the space that they have set aside for Pacific Union. This could change. Where Southern California is in that, we don't know yet.
So it's the olive color.
Yes, sort of olive brownish, yeah.
So, and Angelica, you were asking if we're in charge of security. No, we are not now. That was a Pastor Bob thing.
Our conference hasn't been assigned a duty yet.
So, any questions? You're welcome to unmute and ask away.
Hi, Steve.
Hi,
Good
Tanya.
afternoon. I have a question. I bought 10 tickets for the Camporee, but I don't know if they send a receipt or any confirmation because I didn't receive nothing yet. I don't know where I can to go for make sure, you know. I know they received my payment, but I didn't receive any feedback about my purchase.
Kevin, I found the last 3 Camporees on the Camporee website under registration. There's a list of clubs by conference and by union, and they tell,
Yes.
They indicate how many tickets have been purchased.
How many tickets?
I think that's probably your closest confirmation you're going to get, Tanya.
Okay. Another
Yeah, you
question.
You had to set up an account to purchase the tickets. You should be able to go back into that and print out your tickets.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Maybe I need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, they won't send
Okay.
you anything. You have to print it out yourself.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Another question. Do you know if we have some companies for t-shirts, printer or something like that, for try to working with them for, prepare our t-shirts?
Prepare what again, Tanya?
The t-shirts, the
T-shirts.
t-shirts. Yeah, t-shirts.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll have to work on that.
Remember, before we
Yeah.
working with some people, through the conference,
Right.
printing the
Well,
t-shirts in advance.
We can offer that when we get to 2024. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
good point,
Okay.
though.
Yeah, and the same with the pins. Remember, Steve?
Pins, we will be introducing the contest to start designing them at the upcoming convocation in February.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll be working on coordinating that again and coming up with pin designs that the clubs can utilize toward the end of 2022.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Pastor Morris.
You're welcome. Okay. So Walmart's in the projections, but there was a Target. Kevin, I'll let you. make
I
an
don't
assumption
remember a
there.
Target store in Gillette. No.
So you took advantage of it there, Angelica, I take it? Of a Target? You're welcome to
Oh, yes,
unmute.
no.
There you go.
Yes. Oh, well, I don't like the sound of my voice. Okay, so hello everyone. So yes, what I was trying to say is that Oshkosh obviously had more supermarkets, even mini marts, and also they also had a Target. I used to go to the Target as well as Walmart.
Yeah.
Because I knew
There was a
Walmart.
Target.
Walmart was a lot worse in my opinion, but Target would also now fall behind because they would also run out of stuff. So
Right.
Mike, I know you had mentioned that they had already received the projections of the Walmart sales to share with the Gillette Walmart, but what about Target's projections? Because we also need to see people shop there, and we need to also share that information to Walmart. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm trying to tell you.
There is a Target there, isn't there, Kevin?
Yes, there is. I did my shopping there.
No, I'm talking Gillette.
Gillette.
No,
I
there
didn't
is-
see one.
I just
There is-
Googled it. There is one there.
There's one. Okay. That's good
There
to
is
know.
Target and Gillette?
I just did a quick Google. It says it's located 2300 South Douglas. And they're Super Center. Well, maybe, maybe not. There's another site that says Target in Gillette, came up Casper, Wyoming. So sounds to me like, yeah, I better not. Target, let's do a Google, Target near Gillette, Wyoming. Yeah, there is one close to the Albertsons. Target, whoops. Target signs, whoa. Nope, doesn't look like there is one. I stand corrected.
Well, just wanted to see if at the CYE, if they also took in consideration, because if we're only looking at Walmart's projections, we may be in trouble. We also need to know as to what was sold in Target at Oshkosh, so we can also look at that amount of sales that were done. So we have enough
Good
food
point.
and whatever equipment we need. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Good point.
I don't know if Mr. White had brought that up at the meeting.
So I think the best thing to say here, Kevin, if you're okay with me saying it, is plan for stores to run dry. You're muted, Kevin.
They will run out most likely.
So,
And a lot of that is because of the overseas contingent. They buy everything. They buy their tents and food and everything because they can't travel with it.
yeah. So that's a very good point, Angelica, but I think from our perspective, bring as much as you can, or if you're going to do some shopping, shop in advance, like in a town like Casper, Wyoming, an hour away. I believe
Yeah,
there's,
that's what I was thinking, because I figure if I happen to go to Denver, Denver would be the probably the most metropolitan city heading from south going north, maybe stopping there. Also Sam's Club and Costco's. There's nothing near that area. And I know Oshkosh had something near, at least in Appleton, but
yeah,
you know, just pointing out the obvious. But you're right. I'm thinking of doing all my shopping probably before I even reach Gillette.
Yeah, there are no Costco's or Sam's Clubs anywhere near. You're right.
so Cheyenne, Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming, Douglas, Wyoming. Cheyenne's the capital of Wyoming, and just kind of an FYI, I think they may have 50,000 in the city. Gillette has, what is it, 30,000? I did
Yeah,
a search.
About that.
Juan and I did a search while we were traveling, and we were amazed at how no city in Wyoming was over, I think, 50,000. Gillette is the third largest city at 30,000 people. So we will more than double the size of the town. By the way, they do have annual events that have had 35,000 plus there, maybe even in the 40,000 range, Kevin. So they have experienced large groups. We just happen to be pushing that limit higher.
That's correct. They have had large groups, and they're willing to accommodate us.
Are they ever? They were so excited sharing with us at the event at the tour that Juan and I took. And I think you saw the same enthusiasm, Kevin.
Yeah, even moving their county fair to accommodate us.
So I take it to everybody else, we've answered every possible question. Never. There's always one more question that'll come up later than sooner.
So you would advise that we buy our tickets right now? Yes, for club members?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the sooner the better. As soon as you can buy the tickets, that's a good idea.
And by the way, if you're in the first 2,500 who purchase, you get backstage tour, you get an extra pin, you get some extra things. So those will be gone probably within the next few months.
Okay, certainly. Thank you.
So awesome. Glad you're planning to bring your club.
Yeah, we're working on funding for it from now.
Awesome.
Yeah, we hope to have quarterly updates going forward. When we get new information, we'll pass it on. And then as we get closer, we'll be meeting with greater regularity to talk about the different things, how to prepare. But I think we hope to actually post today's presentation on the conference Pathfinder Facebook page, so you can go back and take a look, especially at that budget that Steve presented and the driving distances. That could be very helpful in planning.
Is there a projection as to the cost for the transportation of the equipment?
You mean the camping gear and the trucks?
Yes.
Yeah, that is based on the cubic feet, the amount of, I don't remember what the rate was at the last time.
Bob also had problems with a number of clubs not collecting. So it raises a question, Kevin, are we even going to offer it?
That has not been decided at this point,
Yeah,
because every year there's several clubs that they don't pay, and then they have either a new director or a new pastor, and they say, well, I wasn't the director then. And so the conference is left holding the bag, and they take a very dim view of that.
so that's a debate, Angelica. Should we do it? And if so, how do we make sure that the conference gets paid for what it puts out? Because this is our gear. We'd have to rent a trailer or a truck, or borrow someone's trailer or something to get our gear back there otherwise.
Maybe we can pay in advance.
Paying in advance works to a degree, but what happens if you say, I need 50 cubic feet, you pay for that, and then you actually come with 150 cubic feet. That's why Bob didn't do it totally in advance last time. But you're right. Those are some ideas that we could use. Definitely pay something in advance.
Yeah, we still have to work this out with the Pathfinder coordinators, how and if we're going to be able to do that this time.
So Jason echoed the same thing. Pay ahead of time to reserve a spot. Very, very good idea. Danielle, you asked if we could purchase tickets now and buy more later. Absolutely. A lot of clubs purchase them as you have the funds. So go register at camporee.org. In other words, get on their radar, start buying some tickets now and keep adding. Well, Kevin, I think we've answered everyone's questions for now.
Had a nice group join us today. Thank you
Yes.
for taking the time. And you will have more and more questions as we move forward. And we will meet like I said, on a regular basis as time gets closer.
I do
But
have a question.
Yes,
I put it on the chat box. So basically, you know, since I'll just read it, pin trading is one of the highlights of the Camporee, and it's nearly impossible to reach all the conferences, unions, and let alone club pins, individual club pins. So can the conference seriously consider like letting us Southern California club people purchase pins? And I'm not talking about the pins for my particular club. I'm talking about sets and collections that the conference is preparing. For example, you had the David with the slingshot set, you have the little bear set, you have the little children's and around the world set. You know what I mean? Can I get a head start and purchase these beautiful sets and add them to my collection or trade them, whatever I'm allowed to do? Because as it is, trying to collect all the others is just really hard. And I want to have my own conference pins as well. Does that make sense?
Well, Angelica, I can answer that one. Last year, I put together sets and made them available basically at cost. In other words, I fronted the money with every club. I think I purchased, what was it, 25 additional pins this last time and sold probably 22, 23 of them. Granted, I always keep one or two a set for myself, but if there's enough interest ahead of time, let me know. I believe it totaled up last time around $200 per set, something in that range, and we'll see how it goes.
The only reason why I say this is because, again, like all of us that are pin traders, once you come back, you realize, oh, I forgot to collect this pin or that pin or whatever, right? But I know I continue to collect pins even after, and I know I've spoken to maybe some of you about the pins, and I have a collection of friends from all over the world that are still asking me, just because they know me that I'm from Southern California, they assume that I have extras of the bears and the Davis and the slingshots. And I tell them no, because I'm not part of that club. I'm not Culver City or Santa Monica or whatever. I'm Spanish American. And they're like, I don't have those pins. And it's like, well, I really, really want them. And I'm like, well, we ran out. So I know a lot of people have been telling me way after the Camporee had ended, I need to complete the bear set. I need to complete it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm really sorry. I'm not in charge of making them. But I know people out there would just love it to continue to order their sets and all of that. That's the only reason why I ask, because I know once we're out, we can't go back.
Well, this has been Steve Clement's passion in the past. I can only afford to advance money up for so many of them, and do need to make sure most of them get sold. So, hey, I'm very open to selling sets. Unfortunately, most clubs are pretty tight in terms of buying extras to have after the fact. So that'll always be a problem. But prior to, glad to work with you.
And if I'm willing to help you with fronting some of the money, or other people that are willing, will that change the story?
Absolutely. We can talk offline. Let's talk offline.
Thank you.
The bottom line is, yes, if you're interested in buying all the pins from our conference, it is an option.
Thanks.
Well, this has been good, Kevin.
very good.
Thank you from Ohio Conference.
You're welcome. PowerPoint presentations. I'm just typing in my email address. Send me an email and I'll be glad to share it. Very glad to. Okay. Shall we call it quits, Kevin? I
And
think we've
unless
accomplished
there are any
everything.
more questions, yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we wish you blessings with your clubs going forward. We know that this is a difficult time for Pathfinder leadership, but you know what? We're going to get through this together, and we're looking forward to this Camporee. Big time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful
Thank
day.
you. You too.
Blessings
Thank
to you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
New Year.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.